All right, just as we've been reporting to you, it is happening now. U.S. Special Envoy for Venezuela, Elliot Abrams, he told the UN Security Council that Maduro is terrorizing his people by using prisoners as soldiers. He's releasing them from prison, giving them guns, and they are now committing crimes against humanity, government weapons given to prisoners. Abrams wants the UN to act now to stop this and to get humanitarian aid into Venezuela. Watch.
Armed gangs, thugs, and criminals released from prisons were mobilized to control the border. Their actions led to the burning of humanitarian assistance rather than its protection. And while Venezuelans were shot and beaten and killed as they tried to bring food and medicine into their country, Maduro literally was dancing in Caracas.
Dancing at a concert that Maduro was having at the border with Colombia as people are starving and being shot. And now fears are growing that socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro will arrest and throw into prison Juan Guaido after Juan Guaido returns to Venezuela after meeting with Vice President Michael Pence in Colombia. Abrams told the Security Council he is worried about Juan Guaido's safety. Watch.
We are also deeply concerned about the safety of interim President Guaido upon his return to Venezuela. Council members, it is our duty to ensure that interim President Guaido is able to return home freely and safely.
And the news broke today. Dozens of European and Latin American lawmakers and diplomats abruptly got up and walked out in protest at a UN summit in Geneva in protest against Maduro's foreign minister. The foreign minister tried to claim it was U.S. aggression against Venezuela when it's Maduro who was shooting and killing hundreds of his own people and starving them to death. Joining him now is Council of America's Vice President Eric Farnsworth. Eric, thank you so much for joining us. What's your take on all of this?
Well, thanks for having me on, Liz. I think, look, we're dealing with an authoritarian regime here, which is desperate to maintain itself in office and will essentially do anything that it needs to in order to do that, including preventing the crossing of borders of humanitarian assistance from the international community to starving citizens. They'd rather shoot their own citizens than let them have needed food and medicine. It's really a bad situation. It's pretty tense on the ground right now in Venezuela.
Eric, you make an important point. We're hearing from our reporting, Venezuelans are asking, where is the outrage? Where is the international outrage? We see the diplomats getting up in protest and walking out. They're also asking, where is Bernie Sanders and the socialists here on this? Bernie Sanders continues to deny that, Maduro is a socialist dictator. He's saying there are democratic operations underway in Venezuela. Your take on that, Eric?
I think there's no question that Maduro's a dictator. Look, but if he walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, he's a dictator, right? And so I think denying that probably is not accurate. But look, the real issue here is what needs to be done by the international community to get Maduro his walking papers, to get him out of Venezuela, where he has trashed the economy, he's turned it into a pariah state, he's wrecked the entire fabric of society. Look, 10% of Venezuela's population are now refugees outside the country,
right.
Over 3 million people. These people are voting with their feet. They're not looking for, to support Maduro and his cronies.
Eric,
this is a really bad situation.
Eric, this is what's key. Cuba is all over Venezuela. Cuba is now bracing for social unrest because if Maduro is ousted, if Cuba gets about a third of its oil comes from Venezuela, it gets cheap oil. If Maduro is out, that cheap oil goes away. It could go into a deep recession and have social unrest. Isn't that why Cuba continues to prop up Nicolas Maduro?
Yeah, you couldn't be more right. The Cuban regime is all in on Maduro's continued presence in Venezuela because their lifeline is Venezuela. When the Soviet Union went away, Cuba lost that lifeline, and so they developed one from Venezuela. They get thousands of barrels per day of Venezuelan crude for free that they can then either use in Cuba or they sell it at market prices on the open market. So they are really stealing from the Venezuelan people who are starving so that Cuba can go forward. It's really a perverse situation.
Eric Farnsworth, Council of America's president, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Appreciate it.